Okay, let us start. It's already 5:05. Okay, we have more than 45 participants. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. And as you can see on your screen, we have put some paper cuttings on the recent happenings. So people are confused with what kind of diet is right for them, and in the process few make mistake which turns to be fatal sometimes. Okay, and we have today honored to have Miss Alifia, who has expertise of more than 10 years. Okay, and she will be presenting on the key question: how do I know what diet is right for me? Okay, the diet that is right for the other person may not be right for you, but today usually what we do is someone following keto, let us follow keto. Someone is following intermittent fasting, let us follow that. But without assessing or without properly consulting qualified dietitians, we make such mistakes. So this session is primarily a knowledge based to make such a decision. Are we doing things right? Are we taking proper diet which is suited for us? Okay. So the agenda of this is pretty simple. So we will have almost 15 minutes for question and answers, and the rest of the time we'll cover on this particular subject. Okay. I'd like to give a brief intro of who we are. Okay. So I'm the founder of Wholesome Diet by Quark Technologies, and we have come up with this product Oolsum. Oolsum is coined from the word wholesome. So why we coined that is predominantly when people think about diet, they think about reducing or sacrificing something, and even Miss Alifia thinks that that is a wrong sense of what exactly is diet. The diet is actually eating holistically, eating in right quantity. It is not that we sacrifice something in the name of diet. Okay, so that is why we coined the word wholesome. Wholesome diet is nothing but the wholesome diet, and the primary purpose is wellness for everyone. We have uh, all the experienced dietitians on our platform, more than 2 to 25 years of experience. We have like 50 plus dietitians and 20 plus specialization based on the goal, medical condition, and all. The everything lies within the app, so you don't need to actually go outside the app. We have text chat currently enabled, audio video will be there, and predominantly template management is for the dietitians, and they offer a lot of packages, awareness, health tools, a lot of things are coming on the way. Okay, you can download this app from Play Store. We will also have iOS version, and there is a web version called Oolsum.com. So these are few product capabilities where you can actually search, sort. Okay, there are awareness tools. You can rate the dietitians, and there is a one-time and repeat charges. Okay, so dietitians can offer at a different prices. Okay, for a repetitive client, they offer at a less price. So with this, I would like to introduce the speaker for today's webinar, Ms. Alifia. She is a clinical nutrition and dietitian with more than 10 years of experience. She runs a diet clinic Nutri-Eye with patients across the globe. She is a health columnist for leading newspapers and magazines. She is the international speaker on diet and health. She is listed as an outstanding dietitian in Community Nutrition Indian Dietetic Association. She recently won the Golden Aim Award for Most Promising Dietitian and Diet Clinic and Excellence in Leadership in Wellness. It's our privilege to invite her for this webinar, and she agreed to present her thoughts. And I would uh, ask everyone to utilize this opportunity. A lot of knowledge is there with Ms. Alifia. With this, I leave it to her to take on. Ms. Alifia.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. At the onset, I would like to thank Mr. Praveen for this wonderful opportunity. It's always nice to share knowledge with varied kind of audience, and this is the perfect platform. Thank you, and team Ulsim for having these wonderful, enthusiastic young men whom I interacted, and they organized everything so beautifully and seemingly so crisp and clear. Thank you. um, okay, so can I have the first slide, please? Okay, so let's begin. I will try to wind up the presentation quickly so we have enough time to take question and answers. Um, so, before talking about what diet suits you, let us understand how does one decide what kind of food do they need. Okay, there are three types of bodies which we try to craft diets for. So these are the simplest three cases that I could pick and think of. Number one is you might be somebody who's not very unhappy with your weight, but you are somebody who's got maybe skin problems, hair issues, uh, and yeah. So basically, something going on your second largest organ, which is your skin. Okay, that's case number one. Case number two is somebody who might be near the weight that is desirable for them, but their energy levels are always low. Now, that's also a person who needs to actually reflect back into what's going in their diet. Probably they are also the ones who will visit a qualified dietitian, because even though they don't have a high body fat visibly, but they're always somebody who fall ill very often. Maybe they do not have good immunity, they get tired, they're lethargic. Then case number three is somebody who's visibly obese. They might have a big abdominal girth. There's somebody who's realized that they need to work out and shed off those extra kilos. So first of all, we need to categorize which category do we fall into out of these three. Next, please. Okay, now nourished enough, I mean to say that before completely changing your diet plan, have you assessed yourself, right? So you cannot be a South Indian saying that I'm going to completely replace my idli dosas, or you cannot be a North Indian saying that I'll not have chapatis at all because gluten is not good for me, right? So you cannot do that. You have to we'll see ahead why it's so important to actually stick to your staple diet. But still, of course, definitely the assessment is required, and you're going to ask this question to yourself: are you nourished enough? Do you need to tweak your current dietary habits? Because there's either all three cases that we saw. Now, why do we do that? Why is it changing? Why do we require to tweak our diet plans? Because our body needs homeostasis. Homeostasis is nothing but a stable internal environment. Now, this internal environment is constantly fluctuating. That's why we say that what you weigh today, you might not weigh tomorrow on the exact same number, because your homeostasis changes on a daily basis. Uh, as you all can see, there are three types of dietary changes made by a qualified dietitian, and that depends on either deficiency, imbalance, or excess. There might be deficiencies in your body, that is inadequate vitamins and minerals, or there is imbalance, of course, in terms of hormones, in terms of enzymes, in terms of calories, in terms of fat deposits, or it can be an excess. So malnourishment is not always for somebody who is underweight. Even for people who are obese, even when there are excess of calories, we also term them as malnourished. uh, so why are there so many studies which actually say that our gut is our second brain? Because there's something known as parasympathetic nervous system. It actually keeps our gut moving and helps in digestion. Now following a diet is not as simple as ingestion of a food and the food immediately getting into our bloodstream and giving us the benefit of it. There are innumerable factors which actually determine absorption for something as simple as iron from palak. If I have to give you all an example, so there are two types of hemoglobin sources. There is palak, and the other good one is liver. Now, nutritionally speaking, the iron from liver is better absorbed as that compared to the spinach. So this is just the simplest example that I could think of, but there are so many factors that determine the absorption. So if you have a compromised gut, if no matter how beautifully planned your diet is on paper, but if your gut health is compromised, you're not going to absorb that calcium that you're trying to put in, or you're not going to absorb magnesium or zinc that you want for good hair, or the biotin for that matter. So it all boils down to your gut health. And in fact, digestion does not even require food to be ingested. Even before you ingest food, digestion starts taking place. So you have something known as saliva, which gets secreted at the sight and smell of food. Now this saliva is nothing but a trigger, okay, and it's a sign of digestion. Like, imagine if you're not happy with what's on your plate, your digestion has not even started because your saliva is not even secreted yet, right? So it's so important for the whole process of digestion to happen right from the time you see it, from the time you smell your food, to the time you ingest, to the time it's inside your system, and then the digestion, assimilation, absorption of nutrients and food takes place. Of course, we also need to ask ourselves whether we are obese. Well, obesity is again the root cause of thousands of other diseases and diet related non communicable diseases. Now, these include PCOD, thyroid, diabetes, heart diseases. Okay, you name it, and most of them will actually be related to a bad diet or bad lifestyle or unhealthy dietary habits. Next, please. In fact, the recent researchers go up to saying that babies that are born with babies who are, cesarean, are they do not actually have the same gut flora as that babies who are born vaginally. I mean, that how crucial our gut flora is, and that's how diversely it changes. So this is just one aspect. Of course, there's a lot of literature to be published, and it's quite interesting to know about it. But yeah, just to say that so many, I mean, right from our inception to our birth, the gut flora actually changes. Okay, coming to what kind of diet does one follow? So as you all can see here, and as you all have heard about it, there's keto, there's Mediterranean, there's a low carb diet, there might be a no sugar diet, there might be gluten free, nut free, vegetarian, vegan. There are so many, so many. Google gives us like free diets. And they include different kind of rules, terms and conditions, and different kinds of food listed. Now, how do you select which one is for you? The simple definition of a diet is this: the kind of food a person habitually eats. That's actually the scientific definition of diet. So how can a diet be something that you're not habitually eating, right? What I'm trying to say is, you have the DNA makeup, the genetic makeup of your great grandmothers or grandfather, and they have been eating foods which was local to them. How can you stop food that they were eating because you have the same DNA, right? And you cannot expect to have a South American food purely because you think your body is going to function better on that food. If your grandfather or grandmother were disease free till the age of 60, there should be no two ways about it that you can eat the same food too. So you cannot choose a diet which is not something that you've been eating. It cannot be completely different from what you're already eating, and that's actually the real definition of diet. Of course, the food industry, the marketing industry, the diet industry has given the word diet different meanings, but this is actually the real meaning, that it's the kind of food a person habitually eats. That's the definition of diet plan. Now, it's very interesting that why cannot we be on something as temporary as, say, a keto diet, right? I mean, of course, it's very popular, and I'm not here to advocate something very much against these kinds of diet, but I'm here to talk for the right kind of diet. So I am going to take the liberty and say that these diets do not sustain for a longer period of time. Let me give you an example. You know, there are we have a subconscious mind and we have a conscious mind. A subconscious mind is actually influenced by the conscious mind. For example, if you have corn is locally grown in so many countries that I know of. And let's consider India, for example. It's a local uh, crop. And if you as an individual who's trying to lose weight, you have read somewhere that corn is starch and corn makes you put on weight, and you are actually scared or guilty for eating that small bowl of boiled corn or having a corn cob because you feel it's starchy and it's going to make you put on weight. Now what happens is your conscious mind has actually spoken this to your subconscious mind, and even when you ingest that food, the absorption, the digestion is not going to be complete as it would have been had you been happy eating that food. Think about French. The French eat a lot of breads, they have a lot of cheese, and yet it's not the leading country for obesity or diabetes, because they're very happy people, they enjoy the traditional food. Similarly, you cannot be unhappy with your traditional food and opt for some diets which are very temporary, or just you want to feel, you want to be a part of a cult, and just for that acceptance you start following some diets which are very temporary. Okay, so this can also be related to the fact that some people might go to the mountains to meditate. They say they go there, they find calmness, they find peace, but when once they come back to the city, they are actually not able to meditate. So the problem is within. You can find your peace, you can find calm even in the middle of a very busy city. You do not have to go somewhere else, and that's exactly what meditation does. It helps you to find calmness and peace wherever you are, not necessarily in the mountains or not necessarily in a place very quiet. That's because you are telling your subconscious mind that even if this is a busy day, if this is a busy street, I am finding my calm. That's exactly how our body works when it's trying to digest food or when it's trying to help you lose weight. Okay. uh, Also restrictive diets. So all these diets, I can term them, categorize them under one umbrella. They are restrictive diets because it can be any, like for example, just pick up the raw diet. A raw diet will not really cater to you having a lot of cooked foods. Now it's restricted. There are some dishes which you love cooked. Or vegan diet, okay, you will not be able to take any animal protein except plant protein. So again, it's a kind of restrictive diet. So what happens is these restrictive diets actually lead to decrease in the gut microbiome. I can actually tell all of you all that we are 99% bacteria and only 1% human. Like there are trillions of microorganisms living on every centimeter of our body. And what happens with these kind of restrictive diets, they reduce the gut microbiome considerably because they don't have a variety of foods. So the gut microflora is going to decrease, and there will also be a point where the bad gut microflora will increase and the good will go down, and that's the root cause of all these lifestyle diseases that have come now and which were not there like 10 to 15 years back. So yeah, also these restrictive diets, they cause intestinal disorders, depression, cancers. And healthy gut means a good quantity of microbiome. It's actually important for immunity, brain cells, and emotions. Why do I say emotions? Because serotonin is a feel good hormone. It makes all of us feel good and it gives us that kick. Serotonin is actually made in the gut. That means if there is any disturbance in your gut, you are actually not going to feel good. So depression is actually a lifestyle disease. It started happening now because people have disrupted their gut microbiome by taking medicines, antacids, diuretics, and so many things, which were not there before. Okay, next slide, please. Now, we just spoke about serotonin, right? Serotonin is the feel good hormone, and it's actually secreted in the gut. So this is the healthometer, or you can call it the moodometer. It says how happy you are seeing your food. If you are on a restrictive diet, say something like uh, a gluten free diet, but you want to have an aloo paratha, and that breakfast you couldn't have because you have decided, and without consulting a qualified dietitian, you have decided to be on a gluten-free diet, and you did not have aloo paratha. It's a winter morning. Aloo paratha with curd would have been perfect, but you were devoid of that just because you were following a random diet plan. You are not going to feel good, and you're not going to be the happy person which you need to. Our food is the it's the simplest blessing. It's the basic thing to cheer you up, and if you are devoiding yourself of that, then so many other things go for a toss. Like your mood determines your flow of the day. So if you're not happy, if you're not content, if you're not grateful, the day does not go by properly. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, I love this. I call it the case of lost thali, because this is exactly the cruel reality of today's times. So the beautiful looking Indian thali is actually replaced by just a fruit. I have seen people actually eat a fruit for their meals. It can be lunch or dinner, and they think that just having a fruit is enough. So that's why I call it the case of lost thali. Now, this definitely comes under those fad diets that we spoke about before, because suppose you are on a raw kind of diet, you cannot have anything cooked, and that will possibly have just uncooked vegetables, and of course fruits is a part of that. So this is something how that would look like. uh, Now what happens is, when you replace a lot of different varieties of food with just one food, either a fruit or a vegetable, it actually leads to something known as fat hangover. Now, what does this mean? It means that the muscle mass is compromised and the fat does not seem to budge from its place. Having a banana definitely might be a great reduction in calories, but your fat, which you were trying to lose, has not even moved at all. Okay, so the beauty of the Indian thali is that more the variety, more the kind of foods, it actually helps in prevention, it actually helps in treatment of diseases, and it helps us to lose fat. Because body fat, like I said before, it's a very complex process of digestion, absorption, and assimilation, and a lot of vitamin, minerals, protein, fats, enzymes, hormones are involved. So suppose you do not get a vitamin C, suppose you do not get iron, suppose you've not got calcium because you've just eaten a fruit, your body processes are all incomplete, and you are not going to be in the best of health. Because like just repeating, because losing body fat requires different nutrients, and you get different nutrients from different food groups. Okay, next please. So, like I said, you cannot challenge your body's intelligence. You cannot challenge your subconscious mind, and by saying the conscious mind. Similarly, you cannot challenge nature's intelligence. I know patients who come and say that I cannot have an orange because I get cold, and the season is wintry right now. Well, you cannot challenge nature's intelligence. If oranges are in a particular season, they're not going to cause cold. In fact, they're going to help in combating that cold, because oranges are rich in vitamin C, and vitamin C increases immunity, and immunity is great for fighting with cold and cough. So that's the balance of nature. So the first therapy for getting the right kind of diet is go seasonal. You cannot go to the market finding kiwis just because you want your vitamin C intake. Well, when actually the market is flooded with jamun, which is actually an excellent source of vitamin C. right? So it's important to go seasonal, something which is in season, rather than going and buying cans or preservative rich foods. Next, please. You also go local. So I remember very clearly, I think I was in college, and there was this whole uh, wave of information flooding that said that do not have nuts because it causes allergies. Okay, and people were scared of nut allergies, and people started skipping. Then that's one trick of the marketing industry. And now when you see everywhere the peanut butter is advertised, that peanuts are good for heart, it's saturated fats, and peanuts are back in the market. So people who always thought that no, I have nut allergy are now suddenly taking peanut butter. So this is a very temporary phase, this is a very temporary diet that people picked up and they let go, because again some researchers said otherwise. But coming back to why having local nuts, so you cannot sit in Mumbai and say that I want macadamia nuts because they're very healthy, but actually you have locally grown peanuts which actually also do the trick. They're equally healthy. So please do not skip having locally grown nuts, oilseeds, vegetable fruits, grains, you name it. They should all be local in your diet plan. Next. Of course, being mindful. So I've told this story a lot of times about my one patient who was suggested to have coconut oil for the knee pain. So she needed lubrication and she was told that have coconut oil. Of course, coconut oil is healthy, but what she actually did was she started drinking spoonfuls of coconut oil every morning. Well, that's really not required. That's like already, and she was overweight. So actually the knee pain was because of the overweight. Had she just shed few kilos, the knee would have been okay. So she did not really have to drink coconut oil because it's healthy. Yes, coconut oil has good fat, but she could have just cooked her food in the coconut oil, and that would have been about it. So we need to be mindful. Good things in excess are not good. So be mindful even about ingredients which are healthy or the foods which are unhealthy. You cannot go overboard, or you cannot change the ratio and proportion of foods just by reading somewhere. You actually really need to consult somebody, or you need to introspect. If you're already overboard with fat, you cannot again start drinking fat every morning. Next, please. So then, if all these diets are so complicated, what is actually nutrition? Well, nutrition is simple. Nutrition is local. Nutrition is being mindful, and nutrition is having all the colors and all the food groups on your plate. Definitely, calorie restriction works great when you're trying to lose weight. So if you are somebody who's tackling PCOD or diabetes or thyroid or just being overweight, because all these conditions actually require reducing weight. So yeah, you can skip your chapati for one meal, have rice instead, and the next meal skip your rice and have chapati instead. But please do not completely skip your carbohydrates. Do not completely skip your dals, your legumes, your pulses, your sabzi, your salads. All these play a specific important function in your body. And in fact, when those fat diets are followed, what is actually seen as inflammation. A reduction of calories by a big margin leads to inflammation. And most of the diseases nowadays, be it liver, heart, kidney, they're actually all inflammation. So many of us actually look bloated, while we know we are not fat, we are not having that much food, but we are all bloated. So there is some level of inflammation in the body, right? So do not skip any food group, because when you do that, you're actually leading to excess of inflammation and in turn bloating in the body. uh, of course, it's a great idea to decrease animal protein, because it is definitely proved that uh, plant proteins or plant-based diets work wonderfully. So for somebody with high uric acid, kidney problem, gallstones, kidney stones, you can definitely look at a diet which has more plant protein than animal protein. But yes, if you're somebody who's not vegan and you want to have your animal protein, go ahead and do it, but just do not go overboard with it. uh, Long term, so how do you decide what is nutrition? You think, you introspect whether it's long term or not. If the answer is yes, if you can stay on a khichdi for a lifetime, great. But if you ask yourself, can you stay on a quinoa pulao for a lifetime? If the answer is no, that's not your diet plan, that's not your nutrition. All right, because at the end of the day, it's your relationship with food and not your relationship with the weighing scale that will actually determine how healthy you are. So people who are overweight might actually be healthier than people who are not obese or not overweight. Next, please. Okay, so yeah, I just covered what kind of diet do we have. We can skip the slide. Next, please. Yeah, so a lot of time when everyone is trying to follow a high protein diet or a low carbohydrate diet or a high fat diet or a vegan diet, they actually forget that our food actually impacts our workout capacity. Now, there's a purpose why you're trying to follow a particular diet. I think 80% of the answers will be to lose weight. It's actually to lose fat. But if you're not complementing your food habits, your dietary changes in accordance with your workout routine, it's not going to work. So most of y'all who go to the gyms are very well aware of how muscle replenishment is very, very important. So suppose you're somebody on a very low calorie diet and you do not have a meal even for a pre-workout session, it's not going to really help. You're going to be tired, you're going to give up at a particular point of time, or you're going to just faint while working out. So your workout meals are important for energy, sustainability, muscle loss, replenishing the muscle loss, especially for the ones who indulge in weight training, and muscle recovery. So pre and post workout meals, just quickly telling you all, it's a great idea to have black coffee. It increases the BMR rate. So having a cup of black coffee with a handful of nuts or a small bowl of fruits or a medium sized bowl of fruits is excellent. Post workout can be anything high in protein. It can be egg whites. It can be a glass of milk with skim milk powder. It can be low fat paneer tikkas, depending on the intensity and duration of your workout. Always keep a gap of 30 minutes before and after workout, but the time gap between the meal and the workout, because because while you're working out, the blood circulation is getting concentrated on the fat burning process. So after your workout, if you immediately eat or drink something, the blood circulation is going to go and start digesting the food, which we don't want. We want the body to complete the task of burning energy, right? So keep a gap of 30 minutes at least pre and post workout for the meals. Next, please. Okay, so I think the second most important topic for dining tables, apart from weight loss, is hormones. Everybody talks about hormonal imbalances. Now, why is this happening? So I mean, even our grandmothers, great grandmothers, great grandfather had hormones, but this was not such a big deal. Well, now it is, and the reason is sugar, stress, lack of physical activity, alcohol, smoking. As soon as these increase, the hormonal imbalance have increased, right? What happens in a female body when it comes to hormonal imbalances? The estrogen goes up, the progesterone decreases, and 75% women, they start facing either PMS or infertility or hair loss. And of course, whenever these symptoms are going to get checked by a medical practitioner, it's always going to be termed as hormonal imbalance. Also, hormonal imbalances nowadays in men are extremely common. There is depression in men, there is high abdominal obesity, there's weight gain, there's tiredness, fatigue. This is also because of high estrogen in men and decreased testosterone. And what are the three ways quickly that you can do to change this hormonal imbalance? Is number one, go for a walk. Walking is proved to be an excellent insulin sensitizer, because so many disease patients are actually having insulin insensitivity, So just go for that 30 to 45 minutes walk, even 5 days a week, and it's going to do wonders for your hormonal imbalance. Next is increase fiber from fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, pulses, legumes. Okay. And the third trick to balance out your hormones is manage cortisol levels. Now, cortisol levels are stress hormones. How do you manage to lower that? It's proved that even a 10 minutes deep breathing reduces cortisol levels immediately. So it all comes down to tackling your stress. Well, it's very, I know it's easily said that done, that uh, manage your stress, but a simple act like deep breathing wherever you are will immediately get your cortisol levels down. So do not skip on those few minutes of deep breathing. Next, please. Now, infertility is actually termed as a disease, is actually termed as a modern disease. But Dr. Neil Barnard beautifully stated, years of unexplained infertility changed until simple diet changes set things right. What he meant was just a few changes in the diet and the problem of infertility vanished. So don't lose hope. Hope isn't cancelled, and there is definitely hope for infertility. It's all about tweaking lifestyle changes and tweaking changes in your dietary habits. Next, please. Now, talking about BMI, so whoever works out, have stood on that machine and got their BMIs done, are very well aware of what is BMI. BMI is body mass index. It determines how healthy you are. Well, WHO clearly said that even if a person is in normal category of BMI, it's not necessary that they are healthy or disease free, because even people having a normal BMI can be having high body fat. So in an attempt to lower down your BMI, please do not follow a diet plan blindly without taking qualified advice. How do you determine? Keep a realistic goal of 10% lesser than what you weigh now. Okay, you might not get 21.5 BMI on paper, which is okay, but at least target to get 10% lower than what you currently weigh, and that's a good start. That's a great start. What happens is, in an attempt to get the BMI down, people actually compromise on hunger hormones. There are two hunger hormones important for the body. They are ghrelin and leptin. Now, when people actually try to get their BMI down to fit a particular category, they're actually playing with these two hormones. These hormones actually prepare our gut for the next meal. Like, you need to feel hungry. I know people who are scared of feeling hungry. They actually have a lot of willpower going that, no, I don't want to be hungry, I don't want to have the next meal. But it's the basic physiological process. It's beautiful. You feel hungry because your body, it's a way of telling your body that your last meal, your previous meal, is digested, and now you're ready for the next meal. Also, feeling hungry is an amazing way of the body saying that your metabolism is great. So controlling and having a strong willpower of not eating is again a very temporary phase. And if you're doing that for a diet plan, it's not going to sustain. And there's your answer, that this diet plan is not right for you, because it's actually using willpower to curb that hunger. Well, no, it's important to feel hungry, it's important to feel thirsty. And you cannot, if you want to focus on target body weight, you miss out on hunger hormones. And what you're doing is you're dealing negatively with your diets. You have a negative diet mentality. You feel only reducing calories or skipping meals is going to make me healthier or disease free. Now this makes your diets temporary, because you cannot have a strong willpower throughout your life, and you cannot control hunger throughout your life. And that's going to make you stressful, because you don't want to eat, you're going to be stressed, and you give up after a few days, and whatever you see, you start eating. So this is again a stressful phase in the body. Starvation and then eating again. uh so that's why I always say, listen to your body. Of course, I give diet plans, and I definitely mention the timings in accordance to what is the schedule of that particular client. But yes, I also mention, listen to your body. If you're hungry at 4, eat. If you're hungry at 5, eat at that time. There is no diet plan that can say that it's important to eat this at this time, or you must not eat this at this time even when you're starving. So do not completely skip meals, and it's important to take everything in the correct amount and proportion. Yeah, next please. Very, very important. I think now this term is so commonly used by a lot of qualified dietitians and nutritionists that everyone is aware of it. It says the yo-yo effect. Basically what it means is losing that weight because you've restricted calories or you try to achieve rapid weight loss. You got that, you got the desired body weight, but because of not eating or because of the calorie reduction, the BMR, that is basal metabolic rate, the rate at which body burns calories, has gone down. Of because BMR is up with only two things: regular food and regular exercise. Now because there was no food, of course your exercise has been hampered too, because you need continuous supply of energy for exercise. Once the BMR has gone down, you are extremely hungry or you are unhealthy. This leads to consumption of food again. You gain back all that you have lost, and it leads to weight gain again. And that's known as the yo-yo effect. You lose, you gain, you lose, you gain. That's the yo-yo effect. Okay. Now, in a bargain of losing and gaining weight, you have actually been devoid of the basic principle of a diet plan, which was nourishment. Okay, the principle of a diet plan is to give nourishment. Simple example: tryptophan. Tryptophan is, it's an amino acid. It's present in all protein foods. Now tryptophan is a precursor for serotonin. Serotonin is a hormone which is converted to melatonin, and melatonin induces good quality sleep. Now I know a lot of people who stopped carbohydrates at night because some random diet plan asked them to do so. Now what happens is, the carbohydrate actually makes the absorption of tryptophan better and its conversion to serotonin easy, which is why restricting the whole food group or skipping that entire dinner because you wanted to lose weight will now or later interfere with basic life process of sleeping. And we know that if you are not sleeping well, you are going to overeat the next day, or there are going to be lifestyle diseases, or the blood parameters are not going to be normal. So something as simple as what we thought of just skipping the roti or chapati forever at night, it's going to do more harm than good. Probably there might be a weight loss which you will see, but there's going to be a yo-yo effect, or there are going to be lifestyle diseases. It might just lead to irritability if nothing else the next day. Okay. Next please. So yeah, I just wanted to show that somebody on screen who looks beautiful, but in reality you can see her skin, there are so many freckles, and even they age. We feel on reel they don't age or something like that, and we become so stubborn with our food choices. We want to join the cult of not eating. Well, all that meets the eye is not always true. Next. Real life versus real people versus real people, definitely. So for all we know, somebody who's eating a porridge on Instagram, the minute they keep their phone down, they might be having a slice of pizza. I'm not saying everybody does that, but that's how Instagram works, or that's how real works. So be real, and nothing replaces a healthy diet. Just be assured of that. Next. Yes, definitely. So your Indian thali might not be very Instagram worthy, but whatever you see on the gram or on media or on Google, it's even if it's termed healthy. Like, so for example, the smoothie bowl is made in almond milk, but do you know that only to get this much of almond milk, you require so many almonds? So for getting that one glass of almond milk, there are almonds like a lot, and almonds are very high in fat. Of course they're good fats, but like I said, you cannot go overboard with even the good nutrients. You do not want high fat content of diet at the end of the day. Whatever little you're getting has to be from the correct good sources. So skip the food trades. And yeah, so fat diets teach you nothing about healthy eating. Basically you'll lose your mind following them, but you might not lose the disease, and only healthy eating comes to rescue. It is no one else's job to take care of you but you yourself. So now is the time to know the facts, to stay away from fat diets, because you have to nourish if you want to flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alifia. It's a wonderful insights. So hope everyone has got the insights. Now let us move on to the Q&A session. And Rakesh, can you pick a few question and answers?
Yeah, so there are quite a few questions that have come from the participants. So the first question is from Asma. She asked, what should we eat when we have hair fall?
Okay, so three nutrients for hair fall. Number one, water, water, water. Our bodies are 70% water. Each hair follicle, the sebaceous glands are actually dry because we have taken our thirst mechanism for granted. Actually, when we are thirsty, we go and pick up food. We actually need to pick up water. You'll realize that when you start listening to your body signals. So the three nutrients for good hair is water, next is protein because keratin is protein, and the third is fiber. Okay, so fresh fruits, vegetables give you a lot, nuts, the biotin, zinc, and all that is taken care of. Of course, good sleep also. Yeah.
So next question is from Arva Bhalia. She asks, can you please suggest what should be consumed in winter for weight loss?
Oh, winter is amazing, actually for weight loss. Anything seasonal. It can be a pumpkin. Pumpkin is a forgotten vegetable, and it's one. They make for wonderful soups. So whenever I think of pumpkin, whenever I think of winter, I just love prescribing pumpkin soups. So for winter, if I have to name few dishes, you can have pumpkin sabzi or pumpkin soups. You can make a nut milkshake. So just skip your jaggery or sugar or coconut sugar, whatever you're using. Put dry fruits. Uska acha jo harira banta tha, traditional turmeric milk banta tha with dry fruits. That's a great snack. You can use that for weight loss. Also, winters, fruits, vegetables, salads, very important. Because we tend to get dehydrated, and apart from just taking care of the water intake, you can actually nourish yourself even with fruits and vegetables. Like watermelon is 90% water. So yeah, even fruits and vegetables make for good foods for weight loss during winters.
So the next question is from Mariam. The question is, what is the reason of belly fat for most of the men that they have? The reason for belly fat.
Right. So India is actually one of the few countries which have abdominal obesity for men. It's not with all the countries. It's typically for Indian. I do not completely want to blame it on the genetic makeup, but it's actually because of the sedentary lifestyle. Maybe if that man is smoking or drinking, you tend to overdo it. Stress also. I mean, scientifically speaking, Indians do have a high carbohydrate diet, which is not wrong. The problem is that high carbohydrate diet is not supplemented with adequate protein and vegetable on the side. So if that Indian man who has a high belly fat with his rice or chapatis is having a big portion of sabzis and taking a katori of dal ya curd, will actually see that belly fat going down. And of course, exercise. Indian men are not exercising, long travel hours, lot of stress in the office, all those things also. So physical activity and having fiber and protein rich diet will help to get down the belly fat.
So, ma'am, we'll just take maybe just 2 or 3 questions. After that, we have already collated the questions. Probably we can mail those answers, to all the participants. So we'll just take 2, 3 more questions before we wrap up the session. So the next question is from Batul, and the question is: I need to gain weight, but in a healthy way. But when I do gain weight, I also gain belly fat. What should I do in order to gain weight equally all over the body?
Right. So again, the same answer that I just said before, belly fat. Now, even for people who are trying to gain weight, very commonly seen that what we overdo is having more of carbohydrates. Okay, we feel जितनी ज़्यादा रोटी या जितने ज़्यादा चावल खाएंगे, जितने ज़्यादा cheese sandwich बना के खाएंगे या ज़्यादा pizza खाएंगे या ज़्यादा milkshakes लेंगे, we're actually going to gain weight. That's exactly why we put on the belly fat, right? So there is something known as a blunting response to the sugar. Now, whatever carbohydrates that you took for gaining weight actually get absorbed in the blood, and you need to blunt that peaks of sugar. Okay, how do you do that? With vegetables and protein. They are the two ways to blunt sugar spikes. Once the sugar spikes are blunted, that's when you do not see abdominal fat or the belly fat. So Batul, even in your attempt to gain weight, see to it that each meal is displaced equally in terms of fiber, carbohydrate and protein. So suppose you were having a sandwich just because you thought you're gaining weight. If it's a paneer sandwich, maybe probably the paneer is made out of buffalo milk, which is extremely high in fat. You can go for cow's paneer. You know, it's got protein, but it's still a better source of calories as compared to the fat. Okay, so even if you have to gain weight, you cannot always look at the upper ratio of fat. Add those subsies to your sandwich. It cannot just be bread, paneer, or bread and cheese. Lots of fiber needed there, and physical activity for sure, because you know, hormones, just to keep the insulin working, you must I know many people who think that we want to gain weight, we should not walk, nahi to aur patle ho jayenge. Well, it's reverse. If you want a better hormonal profile to gain weight, you actually need to sensitize that insulin. So you must also go for that 15 to 20 minutes walk every day. And yes, eat everything, a balanced meal. So like I said, your breakfast, lunch, dinner have an equal amount of carbohydrate, protein, fat, fiber ratio, and that's going to do the trick of making you gain weight from everywhere, not just the belly fat. Also, complete no maida. Probably you were eating everything to gain weight, and it had a lot of refined flour which goes and directly sits on the belly. So see to it your sugar and maida content of the diet is like minimal.
Uh, and ma'am, there's a question from Prakash. Any tips to stop white hair at an early age?
Again, stress, a major factor for white hair, but definitely a diet plan can help you, give nutrients like B complex, zinc, biotin, vitamin D is also associated with early graying of hair. So, walking in sunlight every day, uh, having egg yolk, okay, then a balanced diet overall, salads, fruits, whole grains, sprouts work wonderful for early graying of hair. Okay, and probiotics, prebiotics, because again, your blood supply is going to be through the gut, going to be decided whatever nutrients are going through the gut. So a lot of times these people do not have a healthy gut. So all nutrients which are absorbed properly, and yeah, being stress free, being happy, will also help being positive.
Okay. So, ma'am, I guess because of time restriction, we can just take one final question. And the final question is from Zainab. Is intermittent fasting a good option for PCOS individuals?
Well, if it works for you, why not? So I cannot give IF or intermittent fasting to two girls who are of the same weight, maybe of the same age, but maybe IF will not work for both. So definitely, if it works for you, why not? Only think of it. The first question that needs to come to your mind is it going to be sustainable? Okay, if you think you can do IF for a lifetime, go ahead and do it, but do it properly. I know people who have 18 hours of fasting and they have horrible blood reports after that, because PCOD patients actually also function as diabetic patients, because again there's an insulin problem in PCOD patients. So do not just stick to a particular window period because somebody else is doing it. You can still do a 12 hours fasting, which we already do. 8 p.m. if you've had your dinner, breakfast is at 8 a.m. By default, so many of us are already practicing IF. So intermittent fasting, do it, but do it logically, do it with the help of a qualified dietitian, do it systematically, see to it whatever you're eating in your eating hours is logical, local, seasonal, right? And do not just try to fit a cult because somebody else has done it. But yeah, if it might work for you, if it's going to be sustainable. Also, do not think of doing it every day. Maybe start IF with once in a week. Works for you, go for twice a week. And because there will be days when you want to go out and enjoy, there'll be a party, you eat out, whatever. So if it's sustainable for a lifetime, go ahead and do it. But it has to sustain for a longer period. A short term IF for PCOD, it's going to rebound at some point. So whatever diet you choose, please consult a qualified dietitian and then start on it. Yeah.
I think Rakesh will wind up now. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Consolidate all the questions and from whom it is, and either post the reply on the Insta or in the email, or both ways. Okay. And Alifia, special thanks for you to taking your time out on Sunday. And it's a wonderful session, very knowledge oriented, and we will continue with such session in future where we will approach you. And any few thoughts before we conclude, Ms. Alifia?
Just I think Team Oolsum Diet is doing a wonderful job. I know you guys are hosting these webinars almost every month or very often. So I would just like to say all the participants that go and follow this platform. There are so many unqualified people we follow on Instagram, but Team Oolsum Diet is actually collaborating with a lot of qualified dietitians and nutritionists. I think they must be followed for the good work they are doing. And thank you, and I wish you guys all the very best.
Thank you, Alifia. Thank you, everyone, for taking time on Sunday. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.